Sandra! Welcome again to Asexualise My Asexual Life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit the great big subscribe button down below. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as we go along. This is the second time I'm trying this because my Wi-Fi hasn't been good again tonight. I'm probably likely going to have to talk to my my web speed provider, as it were. Anyway, to crack on with this episode. Why do people think you are abnormal if you don't want sex? So first of all, if you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. And also I'm the founder of asexuality.com and the founder of Asexualist Academy. So to get back to tonight's topic, why do people think you are abnormal if you don't want sex? Well, sadly, we are from early child promoted that sex is healthy, and especially in relationships. And it is highly promoted throughout your life, basically. We're conditioned to believe that a long-lasting, healthy, loving relationship has to involve sex. And if you're not having good sex, it basically means that your relationship is dead in the water. I've even heard dating coaches say this type of stuff, you know. Dating coaches, they hold workshops and seminars throughout the world. They do online courses, and as part of those courses, always, it includes that part of having a healthy, lasting, loving relationship is sex. And so therefore, with all this conditioning, when we are, you know, coming to grow through this life, and we're having our teachers, you know, sort of, if you're lucky enough to talk to you about sex, rather than whirling from porn magazines or from the media in general, you see that is very damaging as well, because a lot of you know, things on TV, it's all promoting every time there's a relationship, sex is involved. If they're not having sex on TV, it's usually implied that they're having sex. And so, you know, the industry is huge as well. If loads of people didn't have sex, then a lot of products wouldn't exist. A lot of books wouldn't exist. You know, one of the biggest selling genres of books, obviously I'm a writer, I know this stuff, is romance. But, you know, all those romance books on Amazon are full of sex, which is, you know, it's the biggest selling genre, romantic fiction. So if you're going to write a book, you know, that's got lots of sex in it, you're guaranteed pretty much of making some money. You know, and as I am an actual writer, you know, I love writing. My hugest passion is writing. I haven't done a book specifically for sexuals yet, but they're all over the place. I'm in a lot of book groups, and you know, that is the biggest selling genre. So we're brought up as children to learn that sex is what everyone does. We're brought up, you know, that throughout our adult lives with all the television, with all the programs on TV, with all the films. The sex is what we should have as part of relationship, and counsellors will tell you this as well, usually. Sadly, that's what happened to me, and that's how I found out I was asexual in 2014. I was pretty disgusted, to be honest. She said I had to have sex in order to keep a good guy, so that was just horrendous for me when I didn't want it. And then, you know, we are basically, like I said, we're conditioned, you know, further on, you know, so if we want any help with relationships and dating, it's all about sex needs to be part of that, you know, and sex is so amazing. But just what happens if you don't feel that way? You know, you don't want sex, you're not interested in it, you can't be bothered with it, you've got better things to do with your time. You know, what happens to those types of people? Which is basically asexuals, you know. We're just not interested in sex for the most part, you know. Sexual attraction is when you get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse, and you want to act that out in reality. You know, so some asexuals, they do fantasize about sex, but they don't want to do it in actual reality. It's like there's a disconnect between the sex and actual people in real life doing it with, going through with it. It doesn't compute in their brain. And for a lot of other asexuals, we just don't want sex full stop. We don't get the need, urge, or want, and we don't even, some of us don't even think about it with anyone else and doing it. It's not interesting to us. Some asexuals do watch porn because they like to masturbate to it, even though they don't want to partake in sex themselves. And obviously you do have some asexuals that are sex positive and some but will have sex. But, for the people that are asexual that don't want sex, it's really difficult, especially when every single dating coach out there is shoving it down your throat that sex got to be part of a relationship to be healthy, happy and loving. That's why I do this channel, because you'll notice that I do talk a lot about dating and relationships, because I think it's very important to spread awareness that you can have a loving, healthy, lasting relationship without sex. And I know predominantly the majority of asexuals are aromantic asexuals, so they lack romantic attraction. So a lot of aromantic asexuals, they don't want sex and they don't want a romantic relationship. So this means that obviously the larger, most popular of the populations of asexuality, if you like, the bigger amount are aromantic, which is why, a lot of channels outside this one do talk a lot about aromantic stuff, and platonic things, whereas I talk about more dating and relationships. And there's a specific reason I do that, is because a lot of people aren't specifically geared towards having channels to do with asexual relationships and dating. And when there's tons of coaches online that are constantly telling people in order to have a good, healthy, happy relationship you've got to have sex, I'm here to counteract that. I can help explain to you how people can have happy, loving, healthy relationships without sex. That's what I'm here for. And I'm here to empower you. I know people who are in asexual relationships with other asexuals. So there is hope for us. We don't have to have sex, And a lot of people don't think it's normal just because they're not used to it. It makes them uncomfortable. If you're heterosexual, for example, watching this, you'll probably get uncomfortable and can't comprehend why someone wouldn't want sex, because it comes naturally to you. But for asexuals, a lot of the time, for the majority of asexuals, it doesn't come naturally. We don't associate a person with sex and wanting it. They don't compute in our brains, Just because we might be able to fully function down there doesn't mean to say that we actually want to have the sex. And it's not abnormal for asexuals to not want sex. It would be abnormal for a heterosexual who likes sex and wants it and gets needs and urges for it. Would be more, it'd be abnormal if for some reason they didn't do it if they had a partner who liked that as well. But there's obviously a reason behind everything, And I have no problem with sexuals loving sex, wanting it, going at it like rabbits. I have no problem. But what's difficult and what there is a problem with is that everyone's brought up in society to think you have to have that. And I really feel sorry for all the kids that are at school being taught that that's what they're meant to do. I mean, what about all those kids that are asexual and they just don't realise it, and they're being forced to think that they've got to have sex as part of a loving, healthy, lasting relationship? That is just, to me, a recipe for rape, for saying, feeling, that years ago, I used to think love and sex goes together. That's what I was taught and brought up, basically, that love and, that you don't let someone just touch your body, because that's not good unless you want to. But then when you're married or whatever, because my parents are no sex before marriage, but when you're married, sex is supposed to be part of that relationship. But if you're asexual and you don't want that, it's perfectly fine and valid that you don't have to have that. And I just wish there was more education in schools, because it's perfectly normal for an asexual not to want sex. It's just the reason people don't think it's abnormal, the reason a lot of people think it's not that it's abnormal and not normal to not want sex, is because they are heterosexual or of a sexual orientation, such as not demi, sorry, because demisexual is part of the obviously asexual spectrum. So they're bisexual, pansexual, homosexual, heterosexual, those sexual orientations. They are used to wanting sex. So when someone comes along that doesn't want it, to them it's abnormal. But, you know, if a load of asexuals got together and say we had a massive meetup of 100 asexuals and there was 3 people in there that did want sex, and, you know, that weren't asexual, for example, and came to a meetup, it would be like they would be the ones left out, because we'd all be going on how great it is our life without sex and how we feel liberated, that we don't have to have sex anymore because we're not, like, you know, under the thumb of conditioning. Whereas they would be like, what's going on? I don't understand why they don't want sex. Oh my God, I feel so left out. So, you know, it'd be nice sometimes if the tables were turned and the heterosexuals are more like, what's going on? Everyone doesn't want sex around me, you know? And, you know, if you think about 1% of the population is asexual, that's 1 in every 100 people are asexual, you know? And there's asexual meetups held throughout the whole world, if you didn't know that already. If you go to asexuality.org, it's the biggest online community of asexuals in the world. There's about 60,000 people registered on there, but not everyone is asexual. I am back. Sorry about that. I do apologise. It's just cut out. So I'm back talking to you. Talking and saying, I was talking about why do people feel it's abnormal to not want sex. And I was talking about the fact that, you know, lots of people are conditioned from a young age to believe that sex is what they're meant to do. This goes throughout school and then adulthood with all the media and the press. And then I was saying that, you know, 1% of the population is a recorded 1% of the population is asexual. That's 1 in every 100 people you meet. And if you go to asexuality.org, which is the biggest online community of asexuals in the world, there's about 60,000 people registered on there, but not everyone is asexual. But what you get is thousands of people upon thousands that don't want sex. And so it's very, very liberating when you see so many people on there who don't want sex and can live happily and healthy without it. And I know asexuals, that I was saying before, I know asexuals that literally don't want sex and they're together in loving relationships. One of my friends, he is engaged to be married to another asexual. They're both asexual and they're romantic, so they don't have sex, but they still, you know, cuddle and all that type of thing. And then I know 2 other of my friends who live in the same city as me. They both have asexual relationships now. One's long distance, but their partner's going to be moving to the UK, hopefully in a year. And the other person, theirs is long distance, but it's in the same country, the UK. So, you know, these people are really happy. They're healthy. They're having loving relationships. And so that is perfectly normal for asexuals to not want, need, or like sex, you know. But the reason people think it's not normal is because they're not like that. Because the world and society conditions people that they have to be having sex in order to be happy, healthy, and satisfied with life and relationships. And that simply isn't true. So what we really need to do is be educating people from a young age that it's okay to not want sex. That it's okay to, you know, be fine on your own, or, you know, be in a relationship that doesn't involve sex. It can still be loving, it can still be happy, and it can still be healthy. And that's what we really, really need to do. You know, it's got nothing to do, you know, sex isn't the same as love. That's where people confuse the two. Sex is not the same as love, and unfortunately society conditions us to believe that sex and love is exactly the same thing when it isn't. Sex is sex. It's one act of physical expression for, you know, being intimate. And some people like to physically express their love for someone by having sex, but it's just one form of physical expression of love or passion that can be, you know, acted out or not. But it doesn't mean to say just because you have sex you love the person, because many people have sex like one night stands and they don't love the person. They just want the sex because they experience a sexual desire. You know, the difference between sexual desire and sexual attraction is sexual desire is desiring the sex itself. Sexual attraction is when you desire, you know, you desire sex with a specific person because you're attracted to them sexually. You know, but the two can be separate. A lot of the time they go hand in hand. I mean, personally, I'm asexual, but personally, I couldn't be sexually attracted to someone And I could be sexually attracted to someone, but not just, well, I can't as an asexual. But I mean, if I experience sexual attraction, which I don't, then I don't believe that I could experience sexual desire without the attraction being there. That's what I'm trying to say, because I don't think I'm that type of person. But yeah, it's a huge deal to a lot of people's sex. But I have this person who I'm friends with on Facebook, and he's an entrepreneur. But he also, hiya, Joanna, nice to see you. But he's on Facebook, and he actually does and the only one. Who's the only one? So yeah, so basically, what was I saying? Yeah, so I was saying that I have an entrepreneur friend, and he kind of does the opposite of what I do. So I talk about asexual relationships and dating that doesn't involve sex usually, and he does the opposite. He is a spirituality and dating sort of mental coach, and he is at a seminar with a lot of other people, and they're all teaching people how to have the best sex ever, you know, and that's great for that audience, but it doesn't apply to everyone, you know. And I just think it's a shame that people, Joanna, you want me to say your name? So I just think it's a shame that people, you know, feel that just because you don't have sex is abnormal. It might not be common to feel like that, but there's nothing wrong with you, you know, so don't think there is. You know, you can be perfectly fine without sex, and sex actually complicates things a lot of the time, because, you know, a lot of people have affairs, a lot of people end up being sexually attracted to other people rather than just the people they're in relationships with, and if you're meant to be monogamous, then that can cause a lot of issues, and so it, you know, it really can be difficult. But just remember, as an asexual person, if you don't experience any sexual attraction, then it's perfectly normal to not want sex, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just you have to bear in mind that other people are uncomfortable with that, because it goes against their conditioning, it goes against their beliefs of what they've been taught since a kid, and it goes against, you know, what they think goes with love. But as we know as asexuals, love can exist without sex. If sex without love can exist, as in sexual desire, then so can love exist without sex. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. It's perfectly normal for an asexual person to be without sex, and to just love your life. You know, you can have a loving, healthy, happy relationship without sex, because I know many people who are doing that as asexuals. So yeah, just don't worry about it if you've got people that don't think you're abnormal for doing that, because it doesn't matter what they think. At the end of the day, it's your life and you enjoy it. Okay, until next time, embrace your quirky and each other's. Give this video a thumbs up if you want. And I'm leaving because I don't get what you're saying. I'm partway through the video, Joanna, so I've pretty much finished it now. I'm basically asexual, if you didn't know what that means. Asexual is the lack of sexual attraction, so I don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse, which is why I don't want sex, which is what this video is about. Why people think people who don't want sex is abnormal is because of conditioning. You know, you're brought up. So anyway, yeah, until next time, embrace your quirky and each other's, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!